this week, negotiation? Okay. You didn't send me any dates, so I thought it was this Thursday.
Okay.
It's next week. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
We're ready to roll? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the Financial Services meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We'll start off with the approval of tonight's agenda. Seconded? Seconded by Councillor Turner. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Is there any emergency resolutions this evening? Any emergency resolutions? Final call. Any emergency resolutions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes. Any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 20th, 2025? Any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 20th, 2025? And last time, any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 20th, 2025? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next, we have correspondence. We have two thank yous. The first from Karma Closet for the support of the Northumberland Regional High School Greenhouse Project, and a thank you from Northova Education Center for the grant of their food programs. Okay, next we'll move on to reports not requiring a motion. First, we have the communications report. Any questions or comments on the communications report for the month of October? Go ahead, Warden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I always pay close attention to the top 10 posts on Facebook. I find those interesting, what people are looking at. And the one I want to refer to is actually in 10th place, but I thought it was an excellent choice for our rural news and views. The little girl receiving or in at the wellness center getting the hardwood tree. I just want to commend Adam for, I think it was an excellent choice to draw people's attention to our little magazine, and glad to see she made the top 10. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, recreation. Recreation report for the month of October. Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the warden's report for the month of October. Questions or comments on the warden's report? Okay, go ahead, Warden Parker.
Away on me. So we do have on the 19th here, tonight's the 17th, right? On the 19th is the governance meeting put on by the province. I got the date right, Brian? Mm-hmm. Yeah. 7 o'clock here. I think this is an important meeting. There's some things that we need to discuss with them and affect us and affect them. So I'm just encouraging as many as possible to get out. This, like I say, it's not just a regular training session. I think it's a little bit more than that, and again, encourage as many as possibly can to be here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move along to the internet report. Again, this is about sales and marketing report for the month of October. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if this is the right forum for this question, but it's you're talking about the internet here. So I have some residents in my area that are incredibly pleased to have the internet in Union Center here now. It just got there, and they're very happy to have it. But I have some that are very unhappy that they did not run the fiber optic wires up their road. And I'd ask Rihanna, but she's not here. But I'm trying to determine, like they were under, as I was, the understanding that the fiber optic wire was going to be run up the White Hill Road and maybe the Montreal Road, and it was not. So I'm trying to determine why it was not run up those they've been put off. They feel like they're getting put off here. They were told the fall of '25 that would happen, and it has not. So now they're talking about the first half of '26, but I feel like the goalposts keep moving here, and I'm trying to figure out why. But, I mean, Rhiannon's not here, so I don't know if Brian can answer that question or not.
I guess the simple answer is permitting, right? We build when we have the permits to build, so we had the permit to do the kind of the first loop into Union Center. So that was done. So the other ones it's just a matter of time, right? That's why it's kind of the first of 2026. It's when we get the permits to.
So you're waiting on the permits?
Yeah.
Because they went up what they call the E. Fraser Road and down into Chester's area. They had to bury the line under the ground. And I don't know if they went any further than that or not. But yeah, there's some people are getting quite unhappy about not having it yet. So I'm trying to determine why they don't have it. But you're saying it's permits.
Yeah, it'd just be permits. Once we have the permits, it's released for construction. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other further comments or questions regarding the internet report? All right, seeing none. Next, we'll have the Audit Committee report from Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 24-25 financials may be available early in December for the Audit Committee to approve. And although we are still not achieving the end of September deadline for having these filed, we are a few months earlier than the past few years. So it is on target to be an improvement this year. Excuse me, the tax sale, excuse me, the tax sale status, the first group are delayed until January due to the postal strike, and the second group is still waiting for title searches to be completed. The report requested by the province on the MOPC network is waiting for municipal affairs input, and new staffing additions are in progress, but renovations to the building need to be completed first. Pictou County Wellness financials were reviewed with concerns raised about the deficit. A recommendation the Audit Committee is making to Council is to have Council write to the Pictou County Wellness Centre Authority to express our concerns with the financial performance of the centre in meeting budgets and financial targets, as the municipality does not budget for a $100,000 cost overrun on this centre. I would make that a motion and ask for a seconder, please.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll open the floor up to any comments or questions regarding that motion. Any comments or questions regarding that motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. That's it for your report? Perfect. All right, and then we have the Parle report, also from Councillor Wadden.
Okay, I'll just do a quick review of the meeting, and then I'll get to the important part about the funding that we discussed. The budget update is that we're 62% through the year, and 64% of the budget has been spent with the library. New Glasgow Library renovations are going well, and Emily and Wade Sullivan are chairing a fundraising committee for this renovation with an ambitious goal of $4 million to be raised. There's a couple of book challenges out there. 50 Best Books Reading Challenge. Let's read a book from the list and complete a ballot for monthly draws. The prizes are coffee mugs that were designed at our Pictou Library and some really nice recyclable bags. This contest will be run until December of 2026, and it was funded by a grant from the province. We have a 3-tiered proposal being submitted to the Aberdeen Health Foundation to assist with various opportunities to promote healthier lifestyles, healthy libraries, healthy communities. With libraries' extensive population reach across to diverse geographic coverage, public trust, and the role libraries play in overall wellness, how they address loneliness and promote mental well-being, makes libraries a good choice to partner with the Health Foundation. Some of the programs currently being had within our libraries here in Parle are the ABCs for Babies, the Lego Club for Families, Story Time, Family Meet and Greets, Drop-ins, March Break events, workshops, teen technology and maker clubs, conversation clubs for newcomers, coffee and tea socials, book clubs, knitting clubs, crafting events, cooking and nutrition opportunities, movie, and card events for the unhoused, gardening talks and seed exchanges, support for aspiring artists, virtual health assistance and training, as well as help finding community supports and government information. And these are only a few examples of the work being done by our Parle libraries. The Nova Scotia Library Association Conference is scheduled in Pictou at the Pictou Place for September of 2026. And it was necessary to draft a code of conduct policy for both staff and library users. Unfortunately, to keep staff and patrons safe, this policy was necessary as a couple of incidents have happened, and we want everyone to feel safe in our library. So we have a very clear code of conduct, which will be posted in every library. There are 3 senior technicians, and they will train seniors for 4 months on keeping safe on the online. There will be one shared in Antigonish in the county of Antigonish. There will be one shared in New Glasgow, Trenton, Stellarton, and Westville, and there'll be one shared with Pictou and River John. The gift of book is once again offered this Christmas for anyone who would like to purchase a book for the library to share. Lists of books are on their website that you can purchase. And the Fusion Festival was held at the DeCoste Centre this year with approximately 150 in attendance. There was the traditional food sampling, story time, face painting, and traditional dress, so everyone enjoyed themselves. Earlier today, I sent out a funding timeline for our library, just to give you a background of what's been going on for the past number of years, basically since 2009 for our libraries. It should be in your email. This information is to assist you to better understand the steps we have been following with the province to better support libraries across this province. With Minister Lohr's announcement last week, we are very concerned of the impact on our libraries, especially with staffing, programs, and open hours of each branch. We are asking each council if they would be acceptable to have a letter put forward to the province and signed by all wardens and mayors of our Parle. This would be all 6 towns of Antigonish, New Glasgow, Westville, Trenton, Pictou, and the counties of Antigonish and Pictou. We think one letter signed by all 8 may send a stronger message. This letter will be drafted by Nicole LeBlanc, who is a board member, and library staff will also be doing an awareness campaign for the public so they too will better understand what may happen to our libraries. So the initial request is if council would consider signing this letter with the other 7 municipalities that are on the board for Parle. And I guess it's just trying to get your input and feedback if you would be willing to do that, so we can go ahead and draft the letter and get it sent up to the province.
Do you want to make that a motion?
I make that motion, yes, please.
Okay, we have a seconder? Councillor Turner seconds. Okay, we'll open the floor up to any questions or comments regarding the Parle report and the letter specifically. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
I certainly support the motion. I think we have to make some noise somehow. But also the part about the public being more aware. I think we really need to work on that, because I don't think most of the general public going into the libraries are just, whether they use the library or not, I'm sure they're just thinking that everything's hunky-dory and going along good. They don't realize that you run short of money all the time, and also that people are working far under their pay level. You know, that's the only reason the library keeps going. If they were getting paid what they, you know, what their qualifications were, you'd be in a lot more trouble financially, I think. So, I just think the letter's important, but the public part to me is really important, because politicians only listen to feedback from the public. And so they need to hear, if they realize our library's in trouble, the hours are gonna cut, and all the rest of it, maybe they'll be a little more outspoken on it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do you want to respond to that, Councillor White?
Yeah, just, we felt the staff would be the best to do that job, meeting with the public or discussing with the public, and doing it discreetly, because we don't want to get the government angry, like upset with us, because we're trying to work with them. Annapolis Valley is trying a more tougher approach than we are, but that's why we thought with the letter from councils would work best for us, and so that's why we're going that route. But yeah, it isn't good. Like it is really concerning what's happening with the libraries. So, and we want to keep them going. Like what I gave there in that report is just a piece of what they're doing at the libraries. Like they do a lot of good for the residents. So it would be a shame to lose those services. Okay. Thank you.
Any other final comments or questions before the vote? All right, seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we'll move on to the Healthy Pictou County report. Any questions or comments regarding the Healthy Pictou County report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Tax receivable report. So as you see here, this is to the end of October. Questions or comments on the tax receivable report? Go ahead.
I did calculate the percentage of, up to, for the comparison to October of '24, and it's 76.7, as opposed to 76% to October '25.
So we're close, but not quite where we usually are. Okay, thank you for doing that. Okay, next we'll move along to our deed transfer tax report. As you can see, we're still hitting high numbers, lots of sales and higher prices. Okay. All right, seeing no comments or questions, we'll consider the reports not requiring a motion complete. Next, we'll move on to number 8, reports requiring a motion. First, we have the accounts paid for the month of October 2025. Can I have a motion, please, councillors? Moved by Councillor Turner. Seconded by Councillor Wadden. I'll open the floor up to any questions or comments on any of the accounts paid for the month of October. Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we'll do the internet accounts paid for the month of October 2025. Okay, moved by Councillor Turner. Seconded by Councillor Bailey. Any comments or questions on the internet accounts? No comments or questions? All right, let's go for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we're going to move on to business items or items requiring action. First, we have the tax write-off for 589 John Monroe Road. As you remember, we dealt with this, adding them to the policy at our last council meeting. So the Antigonish Snow Dogs Snowmobile Association were approved to be listed under Schedule A for tax exemption policy during the October council meeting. They have $136.29 in taxes owing that need to be written off. Can I have a motion, please? Okay, moved by Councillor McDonald. Seconded by Councillor Palmer. Any questions or comments on this motion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. One nay. Councillor Boyles? Be it so marked. Motion carried. Okay, next we have 9.2, MOPC Branding. This is put on by Councillor Turner. Councillor Turner has asked for discussion on whether the MOPC focus on branding when it comes to the services it offers, as well as any correspondence that comes from the municipality. I'll turn it over to you, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put this forward because one of the committees that I'm on is the Accessibility Committee. And when I first started looking at this, we were at a tree giveaway at the Wellness Center. And I took a little jaunt around the Wellness Center, and I looked at the rink boards. And when I was on one side of the rink and looked at the rink boards, I looked at the MOPC logo. And I'm looking at this through the accessibility lens. And if I had any visual impairment or any type of, visual impairment, I wouldn't be able to read that logo. So That's the first lens that I look through. I think that we have to look at it, it's rather small, it's really not distinct. You can't pick it out from a distance. So when I brought this forward, that was the first reasoning that I looked at, maybe that we can look at our branding. Now, everybody will have a different opinion on what we should do on this. I mean, there are components of the brand that we can keep. I mean, you can keep the dates on it, and you can keep the thistle on it, but I think it has to be updated so that it could meet people with impaired vision would be able to identify it. And I don't think right now it does. The second place that I saw that it was really indistinct was at the NSFM. And there's a whole series of flags around the outside of and I went looking for our flag, and I couldn't find it, right? And it's because there was some beautiful, really distinct flags there that you looked at and you could identify them probably within 1 to 2 seconds. And if we went looking for our flag, you really couldn't find it unless you really made quite an effort on that. So I think that it's time to update it, and I think that we should really look at standardizing our message across all our applications as well. So on our letterhead and on our signage, and you know, it can be grandfathered in. I mean, we don't have to do this all at once. But there's a completely different logo that we have on our internet project. It just says MOPC Network. And where we got MOPC, I'm not sure, but it seems it's being used more and more and more. So I just think that we have to bring these departments together and create one type of brand that can be forward-facing to the public, so that it's not confusing, that it's kind of forward-looking, and that we can look at it through the accessibility lens. And the biggest reasoning that I brought it forward was through the accessibility lens. Because if you see it from a distance, you can't make out what it is, because the lettering is so small on it. So I just think that we need to have a look at it and move forward in a new direction with it. Thank you. And I'll move it to get that on the floor.
Okay, we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Boyles. Just to be clear, Councillor Turner, is this something that's coming from you personally as a councillor or from the Accessibility Committee?
I brought it up with some members of the Accessibility Committee as well. I'm putting it forward as a councillor, but people of the Accessibility Committee seem to be in agreement with my position on this.
Okay, it's nothing formal. Okay, perfect, thank you. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councillor Turner did mention this to me the day we were in at the tree giveaway, and where it was on that board, for sure, it wasn't well seen, but it may be that was an old board as well. But I'm a big fan of history, and I'm not too keen on changing something. I don't know how big a demand there is from the Accessibility Committee on this. I know where Councillor Turner's coming from, that's anything that's not visible is a challenge for those that are visually impaired. But you know, I'm not in a hurry to jump at it. I could be convinced, I suppose, if enough other councillors thought it was the right thing to do. But if we go back in a lot of our history, I don't know when this logo started. I don't know if anybody knows, but just what date it became the official logo. But I think a lot of the stuff on there is important. It is kind of small. I realize you make it bigger, you might have trouble getting it on the letterheads and stuff. But you know, we have labeled a lot of our stuff. I don't like the MOPC. I like to prefer the MOPC. But otherwise, it sounds like we're mopping the floor up. But you know, could that be incorporated? I guess if we want it to change, and we've already used MOPC on a lot of our different segments that we operate now, maybe that's an idea. Not everybody's going to understand that it's municipality picked a county, though they're going to guess at what those letters are. So right now, I'm not necessarily in favor, not that I couldn't be talked into the other way if there was good enough reasonings put forth, but I don't see doing that at this time, but I'm open. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I have a quick clarification point on your motion. Your motion is for staff to look at this and bring back a report for us?
What I'd like to see done is that there's people that professionally do this. I mean, there's agencies that look at branding and how it reflects your organization. And so what I'd like to see ultimately would we have a branding exercise done with an agency that looks after this type of stuff. So that's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
And and what they do is they look at your organization, they go and talk to people in it, and you know, it's to reflect the values of the organization. So there's a whole series of things that go into it, and color is another thing. There's a lot of people that are colorblind that have really difficult with this logo as well. So through the accessibility lens, these people will go and explore all that and put forward suggestions. It's not, you know, it's just not going to be willy-nilly looked at. These people do this, these agencies do this, and so I'm looking, you know, for support to perhaps go in and have an agency look at it and come back with some recommendations. And the recommendations, you know, may say stay the same. You know, there's so much historical significance around our logo that it has to stay the same. So be it, right? But what I'm saying is that we should have an exploration and we should go through that exercise. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if I want to go down this road or not, but if we do go down this road, I don't think we should brand the municipality logo and the MOPC internet project together, because it's totally separate. The internet project is, to me, is a separate deal from the municipality. At some point, is the municipality, or is the internet project going to become under some form of agency or something like that? Or is it going to stay under the, we talked about this before, about it was going to go under a board, right? And run by a board and things like that. And I'm just wondering if are we on that route, or are we staying as under the municipality? Because if we, I think we should keep the two separate, because they're two different things, right? I don't want to be, I don't think the internet project should be, or the internet should be incorporated with what we do here as council. So, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, I think like we do have several other programs labeled under the MOPC too. Like we had Imagine MOPC with the land use bylaw, and then we have Switch MOPC. So we're trying to build that around several other projects and stuff. So I think it is getting a little more well known, but I don't think it's specifically when people view it as just the internet. But just wanted to mention that.
Yes. Okay. Any further comments or questions before we call for the vote? Go ahead, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering, like, should we get some kind of a costing for this before we go ahead and I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea to have a look at, but I'd kind of like to have an idea of what kind of finances we're looking at to do something like this, because it can be expensive. I know with the when the library did accessibility with the signage and things like that, it was a lot of work, and it does have a price tag with it, but it works because people, like Larry says, that are colorblind or are in wheelchairs, it's all to do with the disability they have, so it's well worth looking at, but I'd just like to know the cost of it before we get into it.
You want to respond to that,
Yeah,
Councillor
I'd
Turner?
like to amend I'll amend the motion to say that we explore an agency, pardon me?
Go ahead. They're just teaching.
Okay.
Mike.
I'd like to explore the cost component of this, find out what an agency would cost, or give us a price on what an agency would give us in terms of exploring this branding exercise.
Okay. To seconder, do you accept that motion? Amendment? Okay. Deputy Warden Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was my concern too, is what the cost would be if we go ahead. But also, I think we got expertise around this table that on our staff that I'd like to see them have a look at it first, and maybe take back a recommendation that we go outside and have a look at it. But I feel they should have a look at it first. Just say there's two people down there that certainly got lots of expertise in it. Thank you.
Do you want to ask for an amendment then to the motion?
That's fine. If we want to instruct staff to do both, to see if they have the capability and the knowledge to do the branding exercise, or we'll find out what it's cost to do it through an agency.
Okay. And Councillor Boyles, you accept that second amendment? Okay. Okay. Any other comments or questions before I call for the vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we have 9.3, request for Rob Wolf to present to council, and this is from Councillor Wadden. Councillor Wadden is requesting that Rob Wolf, who is the manager of special programs with Access Wellness Nova Scotia with TELUS Health, come to a committee of the whole meeting to do a presentation on mental wellness for elected officials. He recently presented at NSFM conference. Go ahead, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I got a chance to listen to Rob, and it was a really good presentation. I'm not sure how many other councillors from the county were able to sit in on that, but he did make it known that he's willing to come out to the councils and do a presentation to all of us. And he just spoke to dealing with residents that can be difficult, or dealing with difficult situations, and just how to, little things you can do to make it a bit easier for you. So it was a really good presentation, so I thought if the council was interested, perhaps we could ask Mr. Wolf to come out and do a session with us.
Okay. No, don't need a motion, we can just agree on that? No? So it's agreed that we ask, oh, hold on a second, we'll pause that. Warden Parker, I'll let you speak on it first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to reinforce what Councillor Wadden said. I was at that, and I think it was very well received by the whole room. We all just keep pushing ourselves sometimes and figure we can make it through the other end. Sometimes you can't, maybe with a little help. But it was just common sense things that struck with me, common sense things that you could do to kind of help yourself or help others. It wasn't into heavy get you on the coach type of thing, but you know, it was a lot of one that I remember he mentioned I practiced for quite a while is don't open that machine after 9 o'clock. My iPad, I guess you're supposed to call it, but if you open it too late at night, that stays with you half the night. So now there's a lot of just common sense things, so I think it'd be a great idea to have them here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with the warden and Debbie here. I think I give a great speech, and be great to hear from him again. I also think the mayor of Bridgewater had the right idea. He went and bought a motorcycle. Get rid of all his problems. Once you start down that motorcycle wide open, you forget everything. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So I guess I'll ask, is it agreed around the table that we ask Rob Wolf to come present to council some night for us councillors? Is it agreed? Agreed. Okay. Nobody in disagreement? Great. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to move on to 9.4, request to issue receipts for Dreamery Gardens project, and this is put on by Councillor Bailey. He's asking the Finance Committee to allow the MOPC to accept donations and issue receipts on behalf of the Dreamery Gardens project in his district, District 4. Its owner, Sherry Fitch, will be making a presentation to council about the project on December 1st. So I'll turn it over to you, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess this is kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse due to Sherry coming in on at our council meeting in December. There's a strong possibility I'm not going to be able to make that meeting, so that's why I've asked for it to be possible discussed here ahead of the presentation. And what it is Sherry, I guess to start off, and I want to make this very short, when us in the country, if somebody lives within 5 miles of us, we say they're our neighbors. Well, when I say Sherry Fitz, my neighbor, she is my neighbor. She borders right onto my land, even though this Dreamery Garden will not have any effect or improve my property any. Just want to make that clear. But anyway, Sherry is and I'm not going to get into it. She will. Your biggest problem, Warden, on the first will be keeping her to 10 minutes. Good luck on that. But the request is Sherry's husband passed away about close to 2 years ago, and one of his wishes was to have a Dreamery Garden. So this is basically where it started at, and then Sherry is continuing it on. She's got 4 people that are actually doing the legwork for her. I have not only met one of them. That was Gordon Johnson. He's a retired person from up in Pugwash, and he's done a lot of community stuff since he retired and moved to Pugwash. She's got a retired lawyer that did specialized in nonprofits, and she also has an accountant, I believe, and made possible a legal aid person. Don't quote me on those people's jobs. I know the lawyer and Gordon's, but other than that. So they are in the process of starting the Dreamery Gardens, and they're looking, and actually there is people asking now to Sherry, how can I donate? And granted, they are just in the initial stage, so they can't really accept donations because they can't give receipts and on and on. Sherry has, I don't know if everybody don't know her, she's an author. She moved to River John about 15 years ago, her and her husband. Last year she was given presented with the Order of Canada. This year last week she was presented as one of the top authors in Canada, which was a very significant presentation. And again, I'll let her talk on that. So my request here tonight, and on this is the ones that are backing her will do up an agreement with the county on the donations, that if this does not become a reality, there'll be a way that they're not going to be able to get the money. It will be set out in writing and hopefully agreeable by our CAO. So I'm going to go ahead of the presentation and make a motion that that the county gives issues receipts on behalf of the Dreamery Garden, provided that the agreement that they present to our CAO, that he is in agreement with that, and that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Thank you.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Councillor Boyles.
Did I hear you say that this is a private? I thought you said earlier it was a private things going on. This is something that's like going to belong to the community or something, is it?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's going to belong to the community. She's donating the land, and then the work will be done through donations. They are not coming on 2 weeks from tonight asking for money. They're just coming to do a presentation as to what is planned to do. I believe it's 30 acres of her land that she's offering to make into this Dreamery Garden. She'll have the numbers to show when she had the bookstore, she'll have the numbers to show as to how many people attended that bookstore over the few years that it was open, which are remarkable. But no, it's a community event, community project.
Well, you know, if it's something that's community, yeah, but I thought it said private there when they were saying, but, yeah, if it's community and something like that, it'd be great, but it'd be nice to hear what she's, you know, what she's up to, but it's a good project, good.
Okay, thank you. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember when Sherry had the Marple, something like a bunch of hymns in it anyway, but it was very popular, the little bookstore, but she had a lot of other stuff there for kids and stuff too. I went out to a couple of events that she had, special events, and she's got a lot of energy. As you say, it'd be hard to get herself to 10 minutes. But, and I think anytime we get some new and creative things in our rural areas, that's a good thing. You know, we need to have people with creative minds and that also are willing to take on this, not a for-profit, but willing to put a lot of their own giving of the land and a lot of stuff into it, a lot of efforts into it. I talked to the lady just a couple weeks ago with Creative Pictou County, and again, we were talking about how do you turn creative stuff into something bigger. You know, a lot of individuals have beautiful gardens, or a lot of individuals write a book or do something, but she's already made a name for herself, but also for Pictou County. But the fact that she's from here and gets named Author of the Year or whatever, you know, so I think we need to make sure that we shine a light on the people who are involved in the arts community and you know, are willing to step up and get something done. So I think it's a great idea. I'm fully in support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I just have a point of clarification. I think what Councillor Boyles was referring to was, says the owner. It's owner Sherry Fitch. And they would have to be a nonprofit in order for us to give donations, correct?
Correct. So at some point, they're going to incorporate this as a community entity. And that's the entity that when donations are made, we would, when donations are made from a CRA perspective, money actually has to be received by the municipality. So we would take in the money and then cut a check and return it to the group. We would only return it to a not-for-profit or society, which is what they're in the process, my understanding, of trying to set up. So that's how it would work. There would be a not-for-profit that would receive the funds back.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, it sounds like a great project. I think that's what it threw us off, is it says its owner in our, yeah. Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. All right, moving on, 9.5, MOPC Community Hall Internet Program Application. The Melville Seafoam Community Hall is requesting free internet service from the MOPC under its Community Hall Internet Program. A staff recommendation is included in that package, and I will read the recommendation. This community hall serves the areas of Melville and Seafoam to provide outreach programming and activities to the benefit of residents, including presentations, concert, educational programs, and social gatherings. It is my opinion this application meets the requirements of Section 2 of the Community Hall Internet Program Policy, and that is from Rhianna McNair, Director of Business Operations for the MOPC network. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Parker. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, 9.6. Next, we have a grant extension. So the Read by the Sea Literary Society was unable to use its $3,000 grant, so it is asking for an extension to use it for the 2026 festival. Okay, moved by Warden Parker. Seconded by Councillor Turner. Go ahead, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple of comments. One, it's great that this committee has been joined, has reformed in the village and taken Reed by the Sea back to the rural Pictou County area. They have a good committee that is going to, I think, put this on to a unbelievable experience for the people that do attend it. Just going back to the previous hall application program, I think we should be looking at our option 2 on that. I question, I mean, I understand this year falls under option 2. I got a question whether it's too lenient.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
It's already passed, so I'm fine with saying this again. If I knew how much this hall was, I guess I'll put it this way. I don't think this hall is used enough to require high-speed internet. But it falls under the guidelines, okay? That's why I'm questioning if we should be looking at our guidelines and seeing if they're too lenient.
Okay, so back to our grant extension. Any other final comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to 9.7, Switch MOPC expansion. A proposal has been brought forward by Switch PACE to develop a climate adaptation component to the existing Switch MOPC program. And you can see that we received lots of, I guess, supporting documentation in our package. You want to speak on this?
I don't have a whole lot more to add than what was submitted. This was presented to the Climate Change Committee, I'm going to say back in February, March kind of time frame. And the notion of this is, or part of this is that by applying to FCM, we can, part of the application that would go to FCM would be to fund climate resilience and projects for homeowners. And a portion of, I believe, the application to FCM, it basically comes with low interest money, which allows you to reduce costs for your homeowners. I do believe there's potentially a forgivable portion off the money as well, which then further helps you offset your loan costs or to the homeowner. But it's pretty broad what it could be used for in terms of fire things, making your property fire smart or drought, whatever the impact of climate change is. So really what this is to develop the program initially. You basically have to build your business case, submit it to FCM, and then they basically either approve or turn it down, I guess. At the end of the day, they do have that option. So this is basically the pitch here as well, is that by partnering with another municipality in Nova Scotia, you do kind of score higher in the evaluation. But the West Hants use Switch as their program administrator for their energy program, similar to what we do. So that's where the synergy comes here, where we don't border each other, but and at the end of the day, the types of projects could be very different in both municipalities. Like West Hants are looking, one of their big things is floods, right? And the impact of flooding on properties, right? We don't necessarily have that here, but fire could be an issue here, or drought, or things like that. So, so that's basically what it is at this point. It does outline in there the kind of the steps that are taken. There are some timelines associated with this. So the program development, the two municipalities would each put in $20,000. If approved, FCM would put in $150 to help develop the program as you roll out, and then the ask is probably in the on the capital funding side is probably in the $3 million per municipality ballpark. So.
Okay. Okay. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is worth the risk. Yeah, we're putting $20,000 out, but we've talked a lot around this table about drought, about fires. We know what the results of hurricanes were and how much that can cost us in a hurry. So I think it's, you know, and working with West Hants is not a bad idea. They're a very rural municipality as well, and maybe they have some different concerns and some similar ones, but we just know the cost to the individuals. Like, we helped a lot as a municipality here when all those branches had to be picked up from all over everywhere, and they were all down across our roads and through our villages and everything. And, you know, I think, what did we put in that, what, $1 million that time, I think? Somewhere in that vicinity, but, and with, we talked about perhaps having a, you know, a program, maybe through Switch, or maybe through somebody else on, through ourselves on wells, to help people drill wells. So there's a lot of costs to individuals when you talk about climate change. It seems like a big thing, but if you want to fire safe your property or help prevent to some degree the fires, well, there's a fair amount of cost to that. If people can, I don't know if that's what this is meant for or not, but if people can borrow money just like they borrow to put solar on their roof or insulation in their walls, if they can borrow money to make their homes more resistant to everything from fires to drought to floods, not that we don't get any floods, but not to the degree that West Hants got them in the last while. It's sometimes easy when it's pouring rain outside and cold and miserable to kind of forget about fires, put them on the back burner for a while. Pardon the pun, I guess. But anyway, I just think this is worthwhile for us to put $20,000 into and see what we can get out of it. Is it Emily that's working? Is she working for us on this, or is she? Do we have a new employee called Emily? You know, is that part of her work? This?
It could be. She did participate in the call when we, a couple of weeks ago when we were kind of finalizing details with Switch, so it could be part of.
Okay. She seemed smart to me when I was talking to her, so she'd be a big help, I think. Anyway, I'm more than for it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I too am in agreement with it. Brian, it's just one thing, one of the slides here, it has other resiliency measures, fire and drought, and this well drilling bulk purchase. Would that be in addition to what we're looking at for doing for wells, or would this be the program we should run with for the well situation we were talking about?
It could be that program. Or we haven't really made that determination whether we do it in-house or out, but that is one of the potential programs that could be funded through, by using outside money. You're not using your own, but so it could be, but we haven't ruled out that we do that program in-house at this point. We, I guess, want to see where we go maybe with this first type thing, and because I think there would be a fairly quick turnaround whether or not we're going to advance to the next stage on the capital. So,
Okay. Councillor Turner.
he disappeared. There he goes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The way that I look is pretty well the same as Warden Parker's perspective on this as well. I look at it, the risk-benefit analysis on this, and there's a few things that that Julian states in his letter that had struck me. One is that the deadline is January 15th, so I guess we'll have to make a decision on that tonight. But it says, and to Brian's point, the Stage 2 capital application secure up to $7 million in low-cost capital and a $3 million grant to support homeowners in your communities with climate adaptation measures. So, you know, there are going to be other droughts, there are going to be other hurricanes, there are going to be other weather events, and from the chair of the Climate Change Committee, I think that we have to look at the benefits and the risks. So if there's something in place to mitigate the risk financially, I think it's worth the risk in taking it, and so I'll support that we go forward with this. Thank you.
Okay. So one thing we don't have is a motion on the floor. Okay, move that. Who's seconder? Councillor Wyden. Okay. Did I just take that? So sorry, Councillor Palmer. Okay. Any final questions or comments? All right, seeing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. 9.8, Christmas bonus for staff. In 2024, staff received $200 each as a Christmas bonus from MOPC. The amount, whether the same or different, will need to be approved by the Finance Committee. Okay, moved by Councillor Wadden, and we keep it at $200, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Any further comments or questions on the bonus? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Moving on to number 10, any deferred business. Go ahead, Councillor Dewar.
30. Around 30 full-time. Yep.
Any motions of reconsideration? Okay. Seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Just, you have to re-sign in, okay, guys? Or ladies, gentlemen, ladies? You ready?
Yep, you're good.
Good? Okay. I'd like to call the property service meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Next is approval of the agenda. Moved by Counselor Bowles, second by Counselor Turner. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Count my nay, motion carried. Is there any emergency resolutions? Any emergency resolutions? Any emergency resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 5. Is there any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 20th, 2025? Any errors, omissions, corrections? Any errors, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next is reports not requiring motion. The first one is Director of Public Works and Development. Any questions? Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Number 18, Abercrombie Sidewalk Revitalization. Do we have a hard start date on that? And I'm wondering whether, because of weather, the promised completion for this year will be able to be met. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. The start date is Monday, next week, and the contractor is still hoping to meet the deadline of this year.
Okay, Councillor McDonald.
Logan, I don't see it on your list here, but I'm going to ask the question. Do you have any more new permits and that stuff for windmills in District 1 or 13?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. No, we have no additional permits at this point in your district. We do have one active file that's currently under construction, which is the Weavers Mountain project.
I just heard that there was more coming up to Weavers in conjunction with that, so I don't know.
I guess for clarity, we're aware of 2 other projects, but we don't have applications for them yet. The Yellow Birch and Sugar Maple projects, the 2 of them, also by SWEB, but we haven't received applications for them or any recent correspondence related to them.
Okay, Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple, the flow meters, I see they got delayed again for some personal reasons, but that doesn't matter what they're delayed for, but are we getting them in now, or how far along are we, or?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. They are going to be installed in November. I spoke with the contractor today to confirm that time frame. So they are going to be back out next week doing the installations, and we'll have the units all hooked up at that time.
When we have the next shared services meeting, which is next Monday, I guess, we'll be able to, that's where the cost is coming, the extra costs, as you know, because we don't have those in. Our answer to that question will be, they're just about all in then, if they're getting in by the end of November?
Yeah, they're not in yet, but they're going to be installed next week and serviced after that. So they'll be installed and then they'll be brought online immediately after that. So they'll be installed in November and brought online in December.
Before Christmas, let's say.
Yep.
And just a follow-up to that, or no, not a follow-up, my other question had nothing to do with that. It was about the, I saw somewhere in here for the sidewalks on the Easter Road in Plymouth. Did we receive RFPs or whatever, and can you reveal what's going on there?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. We did have 2 tenders that were open, one for the lighting and one for the signalization. The signalization received no bids, and the lighting only received 2 bids, which we don't believe are satisfactory to the municipality's best interests. So we're looking at doing, now that we've gone the route of going through the RFP process, we're going to go the route of contacting multiple providers directly and looking for a solution that way instead. So it will be more of a direct to industry approach rather than a putting out to RFP approach, if that makes sense.
Well, we just have to keep pursuing something there, I think, so it's important that we stay with it, not give up on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor Bowles.
Thank you. Just wondering if, on the Narrows Road, the right through to the airport or whatever, did you find out anything on that or anything that?
Thank you for the question, through you, Mr. Chair. We did do additional research after our conversation there last week. We got some additional information, and I'm working with our development officer right now to provide some insights to those involved. But we were able to find a bit more information, so hopefully that helps clarify things. And ultimately, will be needed to be dealt with by the Provincial Department of Public Works as well, but we're happy to help provide some information there. Thanks.
Okay, nothing further? We'll move on for the Development Officer's report. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things there I noticed as reading through this. Zoning clearance letters. So I had a complaint from somebody in my district today, or on the weekend, one district resident today. So he doesn't apply it to part of our rural municipality.
Excuse me, could his mic be on, please?
On, is it? Oh, I forgot to wait for the red light. I'm used to waiting for a green light. So she is quite disturbed that sometime in July, somebody moved in. It was a very quiet place. It's sort of like the story of the Windmills, but wind towers, with a big garage, kind of a temporary garage. It's got a temporary covering on it. It's not steel clad or anything like that. Doesn't even have any power hooked up to it at the moment, but a lot of noise and, up to midnight or more, and grinders and everything going, and she's upset. And I said, well, I don't know if there's anything we can do. We don't have a noise bylaw, I told her, but we do have zoning now. And there might be some question on the timing, but would that class as rural general, like most of our rural areas, rural general, can you simply move in a pretty good sized building, 65 by 40 or something like that? It's big trucks that are being detailed is the word they use, and so a lot of noise, and generators running, everything else right up to, almost reminds me of another one not too far away. That we dealt with for years, but we don't seem to have a very good way to deal with these, and I thought the zoning might help. So she's just at her wit's end as to what to do, but I don't know if there's anything we can do zoning-wise to help or not. We haven't been through this zoning enough to know just how the process works. I know somebody can apply to ask for a change in zoning. Is that not right? But I mean, this is already there now. Somebody built it now. It may have been gone up before the zoning became effective too, which was the middle of August, was it roughly? So whether you would be grandfathered therefore if you set it up months before, I just don't know what to tell her, I guess, as to what we can do, if anything. Is there anything under zoning that would help at all? The same thing might happen again on any road in our county here.
Thank you for the question, through you, Mr. Chair. I am familiar with the property that you're talking about.
Okay.
We've also been looking at those complaints. Under our current zoning, to the best of my knowledge of what operations they're actually conducting what they're doing is in keeping with our current zoning bylaw. And that's aside from the fact that it's disruptive and takes place late at night, all hours of the night. And it's something that I've chatted with members of Evan's department as well about just whether or not there's anything there, as you mentioned, with regards to like a noise bylaw or something. But as it stands right now, the activities that they're currently conducting there are in keeping with our land use bylaw, which is unfortunate because I do agree that it sounds quite disruptive. But there's nothing that we can peg them on from the perspective of the land use bylaw at this point, unless we make changes to the land use bylaw. But even as you mentioned, they would potentially be grandfathered in. And I believe it's only a temporary structure to date. They haven't erected a new structure, so they haven't gone after any permits with that respect. So unfortunately, activities such as automobile repair, fueling, washing are all permitted under the rural general G1 zone, as you mentioned, under our current bylaw. So I would suggest that, at this time, in keeping with also our dangerous and unsightly properties bylaw, the noise the fact that we don't have a noise bylaw, the best recourse between these two neighbors remains between them, whether that's civilly or potentially with disturbance escalated to the RCMP or something like that. I don't think it's gotten to that point yet, from my understanding, but we don't have any framework right now, to my knowledge, that would.
And through you, Mr. Chair, I guess then we fall back on our standard line on noise bylaw has always been, well, myself as warden and the counselor for the area, which also happens to be myself, meet with the complainer and the complainee or whatever and see if we can come up with a solution. That's the only avenue I can see if zoning isn't. But I think maybe we need to look at something down the road to prevent these situations happening over and over where, somebody's peace and quiet, they thought they had a nice quiet place, it's suddenly gone. And we don't seem to have a way to deal with that, and I don't know what it is, if it's under zoning or not, but it depends on the size of the garage or car wash or whatever.
Well, and there are amendments that we're already looking at different amendments to the land use bylaw anyway. Some municipalities might try to tackle it through timing restrictions on certain types of activities. So say, sure, you're allowed to wash cars or do whatever type of work, but only between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. or something like that. There are different restrictions that you could put in place through a land use bylaw that are more still related to zoning and less about like noise or nuisance, but it's not in our bylaw now, so whether or not that's something that could be considered as an amendment to the bylaw, it could be considered.
Okay, and I have one more, if I might, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm stealing all the time here, but it's under natural gas plant project. So I did attend the public meeting, or some claimed it wasn't a meeting, but it was more, a demonstration or answering questions, but some very, very upset people. I don't think I've seen in my time as a counselor, even let alone the time I've been in this board, and people as upset as they were that night. And they ripped the strip off of me and my brother and anybody else. They think it's a municipal project, is the problem. It's not, it's a provincial project. And our job as counselors is to show up, talk to people, and I said we'd do the best we could to make sure that they're protected, their water in particular. But I've received some emails since that people are really, really upset that these people are moving in, just going to take over our area, and we just have to put up with it. And we very much let them know it was provincial. And the feeling in the room that night was that if the Premier wants us to go, it's going to go. We can answer your questions and that type of stuff. And I have some meetings set up to talk with some of them. But I think it's unfortunate that it became seen as a municipal project when really we have no say in whether it goes ahead. We'd have to rezone for that. That's definitely industrial. Or maybe we wouldn't. But that's the presumption is that we'd have to rezone.
Yeah, thanks. I can speak to that question, to Mr. Chair. And it's a great question. Energy generation sites don't need a particular zoning. Okay. They're permissible by development agreement in any zone within the county. What that means is that they may be permitted, but for the municipality side of the approval, it would come back to this room to vote on a development agreement to say yes or no to the project. Whether the province comes in and goes beyond that and oversteps beyond the municipality's decision would be a different thing altogether. But the municipality under our development agreement process would have a vote on it. Every member of this council would have a vote on it. Our development officer and I have been working on a draft framework for that development agreement because we don't have anything like that to date. we've taken the approach of mimicking our wind land use bylaw as it stands today from the perspective of an approvals process. We have a draft document that I'm reviewing now, and I would expect that we'll send it to our CAO as well in the coming days to try to build a framework that this development group can follow, and that gives council here an idea of what we're going to be looking for and what would ultimately be presented to this group as well.
Some people are depending on our council to somehow turn this back, and I don't, know if we have that kind of power here, because most of the people in the county are against the coal. We'd be glad to see the coal be shut down, but the people in that particular area, I don't know what it was like in Chester's area, but it was pretty negative what I heard. After a while I had enough and went home, but, I thought it was, a lot more negative than positive is what I was picking up.
Okay, Councillor Don Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just going to comment on what the warden said there. We got ricked over the coals there, and by a few people. Now, there's lots of people just asking questions and being respectful, but a few people, tore a strip off us, but what do? They think it's under our control somehow. I mean, we might have a control over a permit, but the province can probably overrule us. But I tried to explain that, but I wasn't getting anywhere. But, and I was in Eureka. It didn't seem as bad to me. I didn't notice anybody there. But I understand there's one came in after I left in West River that she was really agitated and tore a strip off anybody within distance. But I understand where they're coming from. If that was right in my backyard, within 800 meters of my house, I'd probably be upset too. But it just happens to be that's where the pipeline and the electrical grid is, and that's why they're putting them there. But it's a provincial project. It's got nothing to do with us, as far as I can see. But other than this development thing, and if we have a right to vote on it, well, we can have a say there, I guess. But we'll see where that comes. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor Dorr.
Thank you. I attended the meeting for the first little while, and there was quite a few people there. Everybody was asking the same kind of questions. What was relayed to me, they thought the meeting was going to be, somebody was going to be up front, explain stuff, and you could talk back and forth. It was more like a trade show, and that's the same way it was set up for over in the other area. Most of the real concerns that people had, they had no answers for, and they said they would get back to people. But in my area, and I'm sure it's the same in the area in Salt Springs, it's the water people are concerned about. I don't think there's anything else more important to people than water right now, especially with what we went through last summer. And that seems to be the biggest thing. There are others talking about environment and what they're going to do with the water that's left over, if they might have to make settling ponds or something too. But I said I was hoping we weren't going to run into the same situation as what happened years ago with the pond and the landing. And there was, but I had a couple of phone calls, but nobody was crossed like they were going through. I don't know, maybe they know they're just wasting their time. They're going to holler at me. I can holler too. But it wasn't that way there. And the ones that were trying to give answers, they seemed to have the most people gathered at their table. And but all in all, I thought if they could come up with a solution for the water, the people in District 12 may be all right with it, but they have to come up with a solution. Like, they're either going to have to sign a contract with everybody that's around. If they take a compass and make a circle around there and see how much water they're going to use or whatever, that's, I'm no engineer. I don't know anything about that stuff, but I know if it was closer to home, and it's not far from my place, the way the bird would fly, or if you put it on the, went up high enough in the air with a drone, you'd likely see my property. But it's kind of in the middle, away from quite a few homes there. And if you looked at the maps, the map, hard to read the map because it was from different angles, and it certainly hasn't got all the properties that Salt Springs has. It's owned by a couple of landowners mostly, and then there's a few houses and like ribbon housing along the road. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Don Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to repeat what Councillor Dewar said there. Water is the big issue. I got a phone call Saturday evening from a couple of residents just outside of my district in Chester's district. And they're looking for something in writing that says if you come in, you mess up our water, you're going to fix it. Not just a verbal thing. They want something in writing. So I agreed that we need to do something on that line. I talked to Mary Frances Lynch, who is the PR person for them in Halifax this morning. I told her that. She was going to bring it up to her committee, so we'll see where that goes. But water is key because it uses the amount of water that 750 houses use. So there's only half a dozen houses, maybe a dozen houses there close, so they don't want to lose their water. A lot of people have really good water and they don't want to have that ruined on them. That's one of the key issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're going around the same things here maybe, but I think the one thing we can do, we can't stop this. If the province wants to do it, it's going to happen. But the one thing we can do is to try and make sure there's protections in there for water in particular, but there are some other issues, that there's protections in there, because what happens here is this company that's here now, or this regular IESO, they then put out an RFP for people to build these and to operate them. So this is down the road a ways and something happens. They've got nothing from that company because it's IESO we're talking about now. We need to, as a council, the best thing we can do, I know we can't stop it, but we need to help those residents. They're sort of feeling very much alone, to make sure there's written guarantees that if something goes wrong, that we'll do something about it. Our CAO mentioned to me that, we're not that far from the water we just put in Salem, 4 or 5 kilometers at the cost of the company that's doing it. I mean, this is an $800 million or up to $1 billion project. 3 or 4 million wouldn't be that much to extend that water. I kind of got shot down when I brought that up at the meeting because they didn't want any crappy town water, they told me. But once you get people upset enough, they'll say, and just about anything. But we can help them. Is the best thing we can do to get these guarantees. And water's not the only one, but it's certainly a major one, so that their lives aren't just to the point where they have to move. I don't think that's fair, but we saw it happen with the wind towers before we put some regulations in that people's homes and lives were disturbed a lot because there were no regulations. So the best we can offer here, I think, is try and help them to get into those contracts or whatever, good protection for their properties. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Move on. Next is the streetlight report. Any questions? Councillor Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know, Logan, you and I have discussed the lights on Little Arbor Road. Just the 2 lights that are on Wilson's Hill, they're not on this report, and just want to make sure that they are included.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, they are. I spoke with our GIS analyst, Kevin, today, just to make sure that we keep on top of these, and yes, they are. I would expect them to be done sometime in December. Yep.
Okay. Seeing nobody else, we'll move on. Next is emergency service report. Seeing none. Next is the fire service governing report. Evan, would you want to lead us through that?
Sure. Thank you very much. Good evening, Council. So you all had the document circulated by Sue-Ann in your package. It's a fairly lengthy document that's quite wordy at times. Tonight I'll be able to touch on the key themes that were found within that study. What I won't be able to do is provide much clarification on what those are at this point, because there isn't much clarification surrounding them at this point. I did reach out to the province with, I believe, around 15 questions directly related to the study. And my response back was, we are also still reviewing this, and we'll get back to you once we have a position, which is fair. So they're in the review phase of this study as well at this point. So the key themes, funding and financial sustainability. This was an interesting one that I particularly wanted to look at. I guess I was a little disappointed that it was more provincial focused than it was sort of municipal focused, and providing some solutions on how councils can look at differing funding models for their fire services and things like that. And perhaps that will come with time. That was one of the questions that I had asked. One thing that I'll say about the fire service in Pictou County that sort of differs from what is reported here. Throughout the province, there is a ton of different funding models, but in a lot of cases, departments are not seeing the money that departments in Pictou County are. We are some of the higher levies throughout our province for rural fire services. There's some in our province that are operating on a $40,000, $30,000 budget per year, which is, as we found out, impossible. So I think a lot of what they looked at when they were going through this study was those cases and the gross difference between departments. In the county here, I review our financials that come in yearly before we send our checks out, and our departments are in healthy shape. Departments in our county have plenty of money in reserves at current. They have no issues with funding capital purchases. Most departments are buying a new fire truck every 5 or 6 years, and most departments are having those trucks paid off within 5 or 6 years of the purchase. So there's not a large issue with capital purchases here within Pictou County, but I had hoped that there would have been more, like I said, suggestions on different models, and perhaps those will come. And I'll take questions at the end if anybody has any questions about these. The next topic was training and standardization. This was something that we as a county actually took on a couple years ago when we noticed that the Nova Scotia Firefighter School was going through a time of uncertainty and in a lot of cases unsafe practices. So we've implemented a training program here that was talked about a little bit in this study and with the people who did the study. There are other areas that do similar programs, but none of them are a municipally run program that is organized by the municipality, funded by the municipality, and is free to the rural fire departments. So they were of particular interest of sort of our model and how it works and what we're seeing in terms of results. And on training, there was a provincial committee struck. It's made up of 32 individuals from throughout the province. I had requested to be on this committee, and I was not fortunate enough to get the nod for it. So our representative is actually in Amherst. That's the closest representative that we have on this committee. I did reach out to them in hopes to provide them sort of our training documents and sort of our plan, but I haven't heard back from them to this point to provide them with that. The next key theme was recruitment and retention. This was another point for me that was very interesting. I had hoped that there would be a smoking gun in here that we could say, there it is. We know how to do it now. Not so much. There's certainly some suggestions in here about tax incentives, tax breaks. One of them that was kind of interesting was employers who would be obligated to have to allow a volunteer firefighter to leave work. I think there's an argument on both sides of that, but I do hear from some of our local volunteer firefighters that are unable to leave during an emergency, and they would like the ability to do so. They talk a little bit about recognition. Before my time, it's my understanding that the county did look at sort of a medal recognition program that was actually turned down by the association in the end. They said that really wasn't something that interested them that much. And then they talked a little bit about pay, obviously, so what that looks like. So it's interesting, about last week I had a meeting in Trenton at the Trenton Fire Department, and the meeting was made up of new firefighters. So everybody in that room was 6 months or less of service. And there was about 28 people that came. It was a fantastic session. But I asked them some of these questions from this study. I sort of went through and asked from their perspective what they thought. And when I brought up the idea of pay, there wasn't any interest in that room, none. There was people who sort of rebuked that and said, we're here to help our community, we're not really interested in $10 for gas. Like, that's not really what it's about. I asked them if they'd be more apt to attend calls. They said no, because, you know, a lot of times they can't leave work, and whatever they'd get from the fire department wouldn't make up their lost wage anyway. So I thought that was sort of interesting and of particular interest, because that is your younger generation that I would assume would be more apt to want sort of that financial compensation, but we're just not seeing that. And we're certainly not seeing that from sort of our 50 to 60 to 70-year-olds that have been in the fire service for 30 and 40 years. They would turn it down if you tried to pay them, I think, at this point. So we're going to keep working on that. We have struck our recruitment and retention committee back up again. So we're going to start meeting more regularly as a group, and hopefully work on some public information sessions to get the word out and get some more recruits into our departments. I will say our fire cadet program that we implemented, as well as our social media campaigns that Adam has been doing, has resulted in 60 firefighters, approximately 60 firefighters into our fire service since we launched that. So that's been a huge help. It hasn't just been rural Pictou County. The towns have seen an influx of applicants as well through our program. So it is helping sort of more broadly, but there's certainly more work that we can be doing. So the next area was governance, authority, and accountability. So this is sort of I guess a hot potato in a lot of ways, and I think we really need the province to take a stance on this and tell us, like, here's how we view this, and sort of here's how we expect you to move forward. There's some talk a little bit in there about municipal councils approving the fire chiefs for departments. And one of my questions to the province on this was, if the expectation is that council approves fire chiefs, does that mean that you folks yearly are approving 18 fire chiefs? Or are they saying that municipal council should appoint one fire chief? Because there's a lot of question about what they mean there, right? So I have reached out for clarification on that, and I haven't gotten that back yet. But there is a considerable amount that's going to be within that governance piece, including the new act, right? Which is basically going to lay out to us to say, you are responsible for your fire services, which is something that we've always been responsible for. The minute that we allowed departments to register in the county to provide service, we were responsible for that department. But this is really nailing it down and giving us a better path forward in legislation. The next topic was dispatch and communication. This was another area that we actually actioned here. We had Stellarton, New Glasgow dispatch when I first started here, and we've segued out of there, and we're with Valley Dispatch now. Valley Dispatch is a very consistent dispatching service, and they provide dispatching services for over half the province. So again, we're not really sure what this is going to look like. Conversations I've had with provincial officials on the dispatch side, they've sort of said they're studying one dispatch model for fire service, similar to how they run the plow dispatch, like the call center there, EHS dispatch out of Burnside, everything in one area with a computer-data dispatch along with it. I mean, it sounds good, but there's an incredible amount of work that needs to happen before you see any of those results in dispatching. That's years and years of work. The other area was health, safety, and wellness, including cancer prevention. One topic that kind of caught my eye in this was that fire departments are expected to follow the occupational health and safety programs. And they are expected to follow the occupational health and safety programs that are set out by the registered municipality. And so that was another question to the province about how that works. Like, what are our requirements as a municipality, and what do we need to be providing these departments to ensure that they're meeting the requirements of the OH&S Act, and what do they need to be providing us so that, you know, we're managing our liability on our end. So that was sort of an interesting little point as well. And the other one was equipment and infrastructure. And this one's another really good one. It was something that was talked about with me when I first came here, bulk purchasing, coming together and buying things together. It makes total sense. However, we have the struggle within our county that if we were to go out and say, we think you should buy from this supplier, departments would say, we're going to buy from this one just because we want to. And so that's sort of the struggle there with that. We did have some talks with suppliers when I first got into my role here, and we were offered some discounts based on a promise or a contract to buy only from that supplier for a 5-year period. And when I kind of shopped that out to the chiefs, yeah, that wasn't happening. So that kind of went away. So I'm not sure what that'll look like in terms of equipment and infrastructure purchasing. I hope the province is able to put some maybe standing offers in place. I'm not entirely sure, but I hope that they can give us some tools that we can incentivize these departments to say, guys, this makes sense. We could be saving 50,000 or 70,000 on a truck here. Like, this makes sense to do. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of rolls out. That's pretty much all I had in terms of the key themes, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Evan. Councillor Parker, Don Parker. Oh, sorry, Councillor Boas.
Thank you. I was just wondering, Evan, do they realize how serious it is for them to mess around with the chiefs and that? I mean, I talked to our chief, and that whole department will quit tomorrow if they turn around and mess around with them. So I was just wondering, do they realize that they're really messing with something they should stay, the heck out of? It's working good.
Yeah, I think they definitely realize that it's a hot topic, just as I do. And I've got a pile of respect for our fire chiefs in our county. I really do have a pile of respect for them. One point that I would make, though, to this is it's important that we get the perspective of all of our firefighters and not just our fire chiefs. Because what I've heard from the majority of our firefighters is that they want more structure. They want more consistency. They want to see policies and procedures. That's what they thrive on. And so that's not what we're hearing from fire chiefs in general. So I do think it's sort of weighing that out, and I think maybe that's provincially what they're doing, is sort of trying to find that fine line between putting in some requirements but also not forcing out a volunteer roster. Because obviously, like to your point, there are people upset. I've had multiple calls about this study, and people are very upset with me. So I can completely understand what you're talking about.
Okay, Councillor Don Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is similar to Councillor Boyle's. I sit on the board for the West River Fire Department, and one of their big questions was to do with this picking the chief. If they pick a chief, then that's an elected position. They vote on that. And if it comes to council and we say, hey, we don't agree with you, we're going to say no to that, well, then you're going to have a revolt there, and they're going to say, you could end up with a whole lot of people leaving. And I think that's a major concern. That'd be my question.
Yeah, I think that's a fair concern. I'm not saying that it's reasonable for these people to feel this way. I really don't believe it is. I think the fire service is much bigger than one person or one job. I think it's a community effort, and these people should be working in the community's best interest, regardless if that kind of hurts the ego once in a while. But it definitely is a really tough topic, and I would say, I don't think maybe this council or our municipality really has a desire to go in there and shake many things up at this point and say we're going to change things up. But provincially, the appetite exists, and I think that is going to be our reality very soon. So to your fire chief question, that is the first question I ask them. And the minute I have clarification on what they mean by that, I will send that out to council. But I will say, I think they'll hear such strong feedback around that might be a takeout, so that they can keep in some more procedural and those types of things. That's just a guess, but.
It's just that they're elected, and because they're elected, we're going to overrule them somehow and say, we're not agreeing with your election, we're going to do something different. I don't.
Yeah, and I don't think it could even be structured that way. Like the way that they're currently structured, where they're voting people in.
Yeah.
I think that the province would have to come in and provide and set up legislation or whatever that may be to say these are the ways positions are now chosen. It's not an elected position anymore, or whatever that is. But to your point, I don't think that it's fair to say, okay, West River, vote in your chief, and they all choose unanimously to vote in Donnie, and then Donnie comes to council and they'll say, no, sorry, we're not interested. So I do think that there's, like I said, there is a fine line here that they're going to have to walk very carefully, for sure.
Okay, thanks, Evan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the government is serious about this time. Yeah, you can tell by the way the words that are coming out, and the reason, the rate that they're pushing it along. So they want fire departments to fit in somewhere with the emergency management. New department, isn't it? Department of Emergency Management.
Yes.
So they're trying to figure out, I think, how fire departments are going to fit into that. But you know, I'm just wondering, where do you see their end goal going for fire departments? And the reason I'm asking is on the infrastructure type of thing. You know, are we talking about having 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever sort of super departments, and others, you know, working through them or with them? That's kind of, I suspect, there's some long-term goal here, I think, of them wanting to reorganize, and I'll just, while I'm at it, I'll leave that one for you to answer and see what do you think that's where they're trying to go, or what?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't want to assume too much about where they want to go, but what I would say is, you know, like the conversations I've had provincially, there's definitely a change in the volunteer fire service world, just in general, from 50, 60, even from 10 years ago. And so I don't know that it's going to be so much a push provincially to see these changes and you know, have these super departments as maybe you coin them, but I think what they're viewing, and sort of what I see as well, is the volunteer fire service is dying. It is dying very slowly, but it is dying. We are not seeing recruitment like we used to. We're not seeing retention like we used to. And the people who are joining the fire service are not attending calls and trainings and meetings and fundraising and things like that nearly as much as they used to. And so unless something is put in place in the volunteer world, and there's not a great deal that's in this study that really improves recruitment and retention at this point, I think the end will be you'll see department closures just out of necessity. Like, I don't think it'll be a decision that anybody has to make. I think it'll be there's no one left. We have 2 people on the roster or 3 people on the roster. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but there's been departments in this county that have had 3 or 4 members on their roster at times. So it does happen, and unless we turn something around and keep our volunteers interested, that's our future. We're not, the volunteerism is dying for certain.
And the other comment I wanted to make, I remember now, Mr. Chair, was on the fire chiefs. I know there's no fire department wants to say, you guys choose our chief, instead of us. I think that'd be wrong. Approve is a different word, but also there have been cases in this county, I'm not going to say which departments, but where people stopped joining because the chief. It went right down to 3 people. And when they changed chiefs, it was just because of the nature of that person. When they changed chiefs, they had 20 the next day.
Yeah.
So there may be some cases where this council would have to move in and say, we need to change the chief. But it's usually at almost the ask or the call of the community and of the firefighters when things aren't going right, and chief says, I'm going to hang on to the bitter end here. Sometimes, we need that, be able to do that, I think. That
It's actually interesting that you mentioned that. Part of the conversations that I was having with these 6 months or less firefighters was about department environment and sort of what they expect on a Monday or Tuesday night when they come in. And a lot of these members had issues with leadership and sort of toxicity within that leadership. And so it's definitely a problem. There wasn't just one person in that room that said it. It may have been very close to unanimous. So we have, the fire service definitely has toxicity in it. It's got politics and drama and all those types of things. It has a lot of great things too, but it's that other side that really does force a lot of good people away. And to your point, yeah, I think council should have the ability to make these decisions if they absolutely need it to. I really do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor McKeel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think my takeaway from this was that we're doing a lot of good things here in Pictou County. I think our municipality has been proactive in this. And another takeaway that I had is that it is very diverse across our province what is working well and what is not. And while something may be working well here, and we can't even dream of messing with it or touching that, it's a complete disaster in another community, and they're begging for their help to be there. So I think we have to realize that it's very diverse from one end of the province to the other, and again, what might work well here might be a complete disaster someplace else, and they need the help to do that. I'd like you to expand on that a little bit, Evan, if you wouldn't mind. And my question is, what should our volunteer fire departments, fire service members take away from the study right now? I know you can't answer, you have a list of questions that need to be answered. However, right now at this stage in the game, what should our volunteers take away from it?
Thank you. That's a great question. So I'll answer your second question first, if you don't mind. So I would say what our volunteer fire departments should take away from this is that the province is listening to them, and the province is investing time and energy into making changes that they think will be beneficial in the future of our fire service. And I can tell you, reading through this document and talking and going to these engagement sessions, there is a real desire provincially to see meaningful changes throughout the province. And so I think if there's a takeaway at all out of this, it's that volunteer fire departments, volunteer firefighters are finally being listened to at the provincial level, and they're finally getting some of the resources and the training and the standards that they've been dying for years. So that's the biggest takeaway, I would say. In terms of the diverse nature, you're 100% correct, because depending on where you're at, your call volumes and your call acuities and your call types are completely different. And so your responses to those are completely different, but also your funding models for that are completely different. So what works here for the Alma Fire Department probably wouldn't work for the Caribou Fire Department or the Little Harbour Fire Department, right? So I think it's not just provincially. I think when we're looking at solutions for even the financial side, we have to find solutions that are fair for everyone, but maybe that they work for everybody. Right? So we can't put something in place that kind of stifles one department to build another up. I think we need to look at what's fair, what makes sense for everybody, and sort of push that out. Does that answer your question?
It does. I think my diversity too was also speaking to the problems that are happening within fire departments, whether it be political or drama or training or financial constraints. I think that we're very blessed here in Pictou County.
I couldn't agree with you more on that.
I would agree. I think so. It seems that we have more organizational implements in place than a lot of the other places in the province. And when you bring a group of people together, you're always going to have issues, no matter what it is. Whether it's anything, unfortunately, these days has politics in it, and that's just it is what it is, and it's just. Every department goes through highs and lows and the wave of that. And I think we just need to be there to support them and be able to step in when we are asked and when it is vitally needed. And so anyways, looking to see what comes from this. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing that really struck me, Evan, as you spoke, was that, our fire departments are dying because there's no volunteers. And that's an extreme serious situation. Because from my point of view, the responsibility of any government, be it provincial, municipal, is the protection of the citizen. That's the viewpoint that I look at this whole exercise, is how to best protect the residents. And does a resident in New Glasgow deserve better fire protection than one in West River, or does one in Abercrombie deserve better protection than one in Little Harbour? Everybody deserves the optimal fire protection that they can get, and it's the responsibility of a government, be it municipal or provincial, to provide that. Now, the organizing principle behind it is what's in question. And, it troubles me that some of the dysfunction in the fire departments is superseding the protection of the citizen. It's that dysfunction in some of these fire departments are putting citizens at risk. And there might be dysfunctions because they're not capitalized enough, there are not enough volunteers. So I think this is a very important study, and there's really life and death decisions are going to come out of this study, but it has to be at the protection of the citizen. That's the organizing principle, and that is it's to benefit the citizen. And that's the perspective I take. And how that's organized and what the organizing principle it is, or what the administration of it, how it's rolled out, that's the first, in my perspective, that's the first consideration that has to be made, is how to best protect the citizen if they're at risk. Thanks.
Okay, seeing nobody else, thank you very much, Evan, for the report. Next is the fire inspection report. Any questions? Seeing none, the building officials report. Nobody. Okay, the next is bylaw officers report. Councillor Don Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the bylaw report here, and there's 3 from my district here. 2 of them are about dogs, and one's about the unsightly premises. I believe that's at the church. Evan has told me earlier, just before the meeting started, that they removed all the vehicles from the church. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm glad to hear that. That's a big issue that way. And the other 2 are dog violations here. One has been 5 violations, one is 6. That's a lot, like repeated violations. Are you making any headway with those dog problems, or?
Thank you for your question. It's not unusual to see this. I will say that in building these reports, you may have noticed over the last number of months, total interactions would have totaled 4 or 5 or 6. And so that was sort of identified with our bylaw enforcement officer, who I kind of said, you know, you're doing more than this. You're re-inspecting, you're going out and you're doing more than this. So what you're seeing here, violation 6, that could be 6 calls of these dogs. It could be that there was 1 call and she went out 5 or 4 times to look for them. So I wanted her to be putting in her report what she's doing. So not just that she received X complaint, but what did you do with X complaint? How many times did you go back and what did you find? So that's really what we're working on building out. And that's why you see for this month, 21 interactions, which is up from last month by, I think around 18 interactions. So yeah, we definitely have an issue with dogs out there. But there's not a ton that we can do on our end with these animals. So we continue to catch them, house them for a few days, and the owners want them back, and we end up giving them the dogs back. In some cases, we've laid charges for dogs at large. Mostly those have been ineffective for the most part. We have seized 1 animal at one point, and it took about 6 months of work in the background before we could even go to that point where we wanted to actually do the seizure. So when you're dealing with dogs at large, there's no quick fix for it. No. Us coming out and picking up the dog at large and putting it out at our pound, that's the quick fix. But it doesn't fix it in the long term. And the long-term fix is not quick. So I guess it's a good question to ask. I want council to be aware of that. We can't turn dog issues around like this. They have to be ongoing a while to meet that metric.
Is there anything we can do to strengthen the bylaws here that would help you or help the bylaw officer make this job easier?
No, I don't think that necessarily our bylaws the issue here. I think the onus is a lot on owners, like dog owners, and I think like we're getting ready to do a big social media sweep of tips and tricks, but also obligations and requirements of animal owners within our county. So we're going to try to blast that out to because we've heard from a lot of people that we've caught their dog at large and they said, oh, we assumed the dog could go where he wanted. So, whether that's true or not, that's what they've told me. So we're going to start blasting that out on our social media networks and radio and things just to educate people on that, because we are seeing a trend here of animals in general, not just dogs, but cattle and horses and chickens and pigs and everything you could guess being on our roadways and in other people's yards and in other people's houses. So there's definitely a problem here, but it's when you're dealing with legal issues related to animals, it's just incredibly difficult. Like it's very difficult.
All right, thanks, Evan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Warden Parker.
Thank you. I guess I want to bring up what my brother Donnie just brought up about the church and the length of time that it took to get that, well, it's not resolved, but at least to get the cars and the bus and everything else out of it. I take it everything is gone, including the bus?
Yeah.
Okay, because I had some more comments over the weekend. I told them that we were getting them taken out of there. They couldn't believe that that was ever going to happen because they'd heard that so many times. In fact, he was supposed to move himself so many times. But they're particularly concerned about the graveyard. When somebody can block off a graveyard with a bus, and on top of that, they chained both driveways, so anybody wanting to visit that gravesite could not get in there, and maybe still that way. They can still chain out their driveway, as far as I know, and prevent people from visiting a graveyard. That seems morally wrong to most people, but I thought it took too long from the time we started. 6 months, and people think that was too long. Why couldn't it, if you could do that? They said, why didn't you do it before? I know there were steps and procedures that had to be followed, but I think we need to find a way to speed that process up somehow. People are very irate and upset sometimes about what's happening in their community, as they were in this case, and yet it seemed to go too slow. I don't know if you have any suggestions on how it could have went faster or not.
Sure. So I guess I would start by saying I disagree. I don't think that it took too long. I think each case that we have that come in, we need to investigate it fully. And I view my job as the director of that department as being in that position to ensure that we are reducing our liability and that we're not going to be on the hook for any issues down the road. And so when I'm looking at properties to clean them up, or I'm looking at houses to tear them down, or whatever that may be, we need to know, we need to keep in mind that those were all somebody's property, and they are still someone's property, and they all have a monetary value associated with them. And so I'm always very cautious, and perhaps too cautious. Maybe that's a criticism that you could give to me. But I am very cautious about removing people's property without the ability to get it back, because you can get yourself in trouble by doing that if you don't follow your steps properly. So I'm sorry that you feel it took too long.
I'm just reflecting what the residents.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've gotten many calls as well from residents too on it, and I've explained to them the exact same thing I'm explaining here. And I stand behind that I feel my job is to make sure that we are not putting ourselves in a bad spot liability-wise. And by rushing in and just I could have went in the next week and probably grabbed those cars, really. But I don't know that would have been in the best interest of this county. It may have been in the best interest of the residents close to the church, but it would not have been the best interest of this council. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bowles.
Yeah, thanks. And I was just wondering, when you were saying about the dogs and that there, right? If it's somebody gets attacked or something, bitten or something, is there a different thing to that? Like,
yeah, so when it comes to attacks, that's a different metric. And what we've done with attacks is they're charged, or we attempt to charge them immediately. And what that charge basically does, it's a long form charge that goes to the court. So we charge them for owning a dog that's known to be dangerous and unsightly. We charge them for dog at large, because obviously they were off their property or off their lead at the time of the attack. But then our lawyer also includes an intent to seize and destroy the animal. And so once those charges go through the courts and they're adjudicated guilty, the judge will order that we're able to take the dog and euthanize it humanely. The issue, actually, and it's good that you bring it up because this goes back to this legality point, is in our bylaw, we have the ability to take somebody's dog for that reason. Just show up, take the dog. In conversations with our lawyer, there has been case law in the past where municipalities have gone in and they've taken dogs and they've euthanized dogs, and judges have gone in and said, you should not have taken that dog. You had no legal right to do so. And so that's happened multiple times. So our lawyers told us, make sure when you're getting ready to seize a dog that you're seizing it through a warrant and that you're not seizing it through your bylaw only. And if you have to seize it through your bylaw, which we will do in extreme cases, the onus is on us to house that animal, right? So that animal has to come to our pound, and it has to be kept there until that case is adjudicated in court and we figure out which way it goes.
Okay. Deputy Warden.
Sorry. Evan, I can know the answer to the question, but on the graph, like dog running at large in 1905, 0.05, is that the percentage that she spent of the 100% of the time for the month it is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions, we'll move on to business items that require action. Councillor Turner, Windmills. Would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I asked to have this put on the agenda because of the reporting that we were getting in terms of revenue versus expenses. And I'm just wondering, in terms of trending, are these windmills trending one way or another? In particular, the expenses that are being incurred in repairs. And I think it was brought up at a meeting here that the repairs are getting more and more expensive. And so my question is basically whether they're financially a good investment for the county. Whether, I mean, environmentally they may be doing some good, I guess, but, and I suppose as the climate chair, I better be careful of how I say this, but no, the question, I guess, is the county getting financially deeper and deeper into trouble by having to repair these windmills on a constant basis? And I'm just opening it up for discussion. Thank you.
Ron, do you want to answer that? Or Karen? Okay, Karen?
Okay, to date, we've spent on the windmills $12,795. And that's right up until
Over what period of time?
for fiscal year.
This fiscal
Yeah, from April until the end, November. The revenue that we've gotten in from Nova Scotia Power is till the end of August, and it's $7,400.
Thank you.
Additional revenue coming from.
Sure.
Yeah, so a lot of that $12,000 figure was to get them back operational. So they hadn't been operating for a period of time. We really didn't have a company that could do it. So we did find a company that could repair the small wind. So much of that 12,000 was reconditioning them and getting them back operational. The last report that I had from the company is that they are stable, they are running. Parts are becoming an issue. The supply of parts is a challenge. In some cases, they're basically, I think, having to have them kind of made, right, and machined to keep them operational. So that is a bit of a challenge. They basically, the windmills, the way the conversations that I've had with them, the windmills were a 20-year span, really with a lifespan off 30 years, like the 20-year power purchase agreement, and then really a 10-year lifespan beyond that. That's not realistic at this point, just because technology has changed. The small wind is basically, everybody moved away from that fairly quick. But they're basically saying, like, to get another 5 years out of these, that's entirely doable at this point. But we will continue to monitor it because, I mean, it is, it's not cheap to repair. The companies not local, so I think we pay 4-hour travel time every time they come. One of the individuals happens to live in Pictou County, so he does go check them on weekends, but the company, the technicians do come from 3 or 4 hours away in Prince Edward Island type thing. So right now, as I say, the last report I had was they are functioning the way they would expect them. They were going to come back this month and kind of do the annual maintenance on them before the snow flies, just have like the oil and changed on them type thing. So that is kind of where that was scheduled to come in November type thing. So.
Okay. See no further questions? You want
Sorry.
Councilor
So is it a recommendation that we monitor these on an annual basis and report back to council and say, this is how things are trending with these windmills? Is that a recommendation from the administration here?
I
Or
would
is there
say
a
it may not even be an annual basis. It could be something happens and there's a catastrophic failure on one of them or two of them, right? I think at a bare minimum, it's annual, but I think we'll continue to monitor them on a visit-by-visit basis, right? Because there could be something that goes wrong that just totally changes it. The reality is if a blade flies off, you're not replacing a blade because they just don't exist. I say that. We actually do have a spare set of blades for our Seaforth machines. We actually have a spare set, which is a golden position to be in, that we actually have it if we did have a failure. But depending on what that is, our business case could change dramatically.
Okay. Councilor McDonald.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Brian, is all 6 of them working now? Is there 6 of them?
There are 6. The last report I had was they were all operational.
Okay, great.
They did have a challenge initially when they came to do the system assessment, and the Seaforth machines, which are the first 3 that we purchased, were actually the easiest to get going, which hasn't always been the case. And then the 3 endurance machines, they did have issues more on the technology side, like actually getting access to them to get them operational because they're computer driven. So that was a bit of a challenge, but the last report, they were all working. There were some minor fault errors in it, but those are things that they just can go in and clear and determine what it is. But they were all operational as of, like, I'll say 3 weeks ago.
Great, thank you. Okay, Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think when we first put these windmill towers in, that's good. I don't know, what is it, 10 years, 12 years or more?
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
I think part of the thinking was we would do something as a council to try and show people that you could do environmentally responsible things, and that we would lead the way and show people that you could do this. I don't think it was ever meant to last forever. And so I think I think it's a good thing that Councillor Turner brought this up, because at some point, as they become money losers instead of money makers, then we need to cut our ties. But we're getting about 10 years out now, and it's been a struggle. And like you said, the world sort of moved away from the smaller wind towers to the much bigger ones. So I think we keep them going as long as they're not losing money, and when that time comes, we've done what they were intended for, I think. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Bowles.
No, I just want to say that I'm going to have to leave. I'm not feeling very well, so I just want to let you know, okay? Thank you.
Great, thanks for letting us know. Okay. Next is the floodplain mapping. Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was just trying to get an update on Tim Webster's application, and Logan gave me the information today, so if you might want to share that with us tonight, thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wadden. We did have game time information on this, and I regret to inform council that Tim Webster's application was unsuccessful. He found out last week, but just was able to email us today. So unfortunately, that project has been unsuccessful. We do have an outstanding application with the town of Pictou, in which they were the primary applicant, we were the secondary. However, despite the fact that the email that Tim Webster had received states that all applicants, both successful and unsuccessful, have been notified, we haven't received notification from the town, and them, I guess, whether or not they've received it from the province on whether or not they've been successful. So I do understand that their CAO for the town is off this week. So that might be why we haven't heard, but we have reached out to the town to find out if our other application is successful.
Okay. We'll move on to solar fields. Councillor Wadden.
And that was just something I wondered if our climate committee have looked at solar fields in the county, and if they are viable or feasible.
Sorry, was that, you were wondering if the
Solar
county
field-
itself?
If the climate committee themselves have
Oh,
looked at this.
climate committee.
Because I would think that would be where it would go.
No, that's fine, you go ahead.
Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your question. It hasn't really been brought up at the committee level, but there's no reason that we can't have a discussion on that, and we will get it on the agenda. But anything in particular about solar fields has never really come to the committee. But we can certainly put it on the agenda. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Brian, you want to speak on?
Either myself or Logan. There have been over the years developers that have kind of come through looking at solar fields and kind of pitching it, whether or not there would be interest from the municipality in looking at that. Usually they're looking for land to put them on. So we would have, and generally, they need to be close to infrastructure, like your transmission or distribution lines. Yeah, they're looking into do one. So there has been general interest, but really not a great deal, even provincially. I don't know if there's a lot provincially that have been developed. I think the municipal utilities, I think, have developed one. Antigonish, Berwick, anybody that owns their own electrical utility, they have developed, I think, one in the province. But certainly we can look at and get information for it. Not a problem.
And the only other piece would be to say that it's not a solar farm per se, but solar options have been identified as part of the Efficiency 1 report with regards to this building as potential options for both ground-based and roof-based solar. And we're actively exploring those with the Efficiency 1 people.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
There is a program out there that provides an opportunity for folks that don't have, they could be living in apartments, or they don't have a good spot for solar on their property, whether it's roof mount or they don't have the land, and they give a premium of 2 cents per kilowatt hour that would go against your power bill, and you would just sort of invest in the solar field. And it's a program, I think, that's somewhat through Nova Scotia Power and Department of Energy, but it's something to look into. But they would need land or something as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, seeing nothing else, nothing further, we'll move on to coastal protection funding. NSFM announced its coastal planning support program and funding opportunities. Question is council interested in applying for funding from this program? Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I had some talks with the deputy warden and the CAO about this, and you know, $20,000 is not going to go very far to do almost anything. But one thing we did discuss after Mr. Smith, I think it was Gordon Smith, was that the fellow? Was here, was perhaps trying to get a read on where are our citizens in terms of wishing us to pursue this because the province didn't, or to leave it alone as the province did. There's some out there that very much want somebody to be doing something, but it'd be nice if we had a better read on where people were, and perhaps the $20,000 might handle trying to do a survey for us, so we had a better indication of whether we should leave it alone or to go ahead. That is a decision that council would have to make. The money's available, and I think it would be, I think Brian mentioned that it would be available probably for something like that, and at least it might give us a better idea of where the citizens of the county are at on this.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first step, is your community engagement and really determining what level of activity or regulation you're going to put in place. At the end of the day, the bylaw, a model bylaw has been developed and planning strategy has been developed. You don't really stray a whole lot from the technical on those. So I think engaging the community, determining is there interest, really to what degree will then kind of drive your bylaw process and stuff. So I think that's probably what the application really is to support the public engagement and communication strategy for the 20,000.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. And further to Brian's point, the question was asked earlier, what role does our new Emily Hodgson have in this municipality, environmental specialist? A big part of the role that she's meant to undertake for us is working with Adam and on engagement with the community on these types of things. So I've directed Emily to attend the session in Truro that'll be taking place next week, and she can feed us information back there too and work on that community engagement side of things as well.
Would it help, Mr. Chair, if we had a motion on this to move ahead? Yes. I wasn't getting an answer from the chair. I pressed this. I'll make a motion then, Mr. Chair, that we go ahead and borrow whatever, not borrow, but apply for the funding, I guess, from NSFM to support study on where the residents of the county are on coastal erosion.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? Councillor McKeel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions. So, Brian, what has our participation like been on studies that we've done lately, or surveys that we've done with the greater community? What has our participation been like?
I would say with Imagine MOPC, I would say that was high. I would say we had a really good participation rate there. I think the climate change meetings that we went out, I would say you could only call that successful as well. So part of this is engaging, the NSFM money would be to engage a consultant, right? So it's not us, they're not going to give us money to do it. They've already gone out, they've pre-qualified the consulting firms, so they will give us a list. We will define what we want done. They will then give us the list of consultants that they've pre-qualified that can do that for us. And then, honestly, it'll be very similar to our Imagine MOPC, that type of process, open house or community meeting, presentation on what coastal erosion is, getting feedback. So it'll be very similar to those planning type ones that we did around the communities. It will be very similar to the ones we're going to do with the agricultural. It's honestly probably hit and miss what your results will be, but I think the last two that we've really have gone out with, we have been really successful in, I would say, in that engagement, because I'll say a couple hundred people maybe over that. Imagine MOPC, I think they had 500 or 600, right, between the sessions and people providing comments online to them. So I would say they're successful.
I guess my hesitation is, while they are successful compared to what we were doing, if you look at it to the relative of the overall population of the percentage of our residents that are turning out, it's not that impressive. While I understand it's more than what we're used to, I don't think we can, in my opinion, gauge our success on, you know, such a small percentage of the actual residents of the county of Pictou coming and showing up and voting. I guess my hesitation with this is that I remember this presentation, and yes, it's $20,000 that we're leaving on the table. I can understand that argument can be made. But I'm not sure that we should just apply for this because there's $20,000 there and we should do something with it. I don't know. I think we have to, I guess maybe have some more discussion on this so I can be, I guess, make up my mind. Thank you.
Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think all surveys are limited in the amount you get back. There's all kinds of surveys sent out that 10 or 12% is sometimes considered great. Even when people go to vote on voting day to elect their governments, we have trouble getting the 50% anymore for probably one of the most important things you're going to give a public opinion on. So I think if we hire a professional, people know how to do this, know how to consult, it's not just one survey going out, and it's got to be a lot more than that. You've got to go at people from a lot of different angles. And I think it has to be over the whole county. We can't just say we're going to survey the people up along the shore, because an awful lot of people have connection to the shore in all kinds of ways that don't own property along there. So I think we have to make sure that we're surveying everybody, but the more different ways they try and the more promotion goes into it, the better return you're going to get. So if somebody else is paying the money, willing to pay the money, we're not at least taking the risk of are we doing this for nothing almost, you know, if we come back with such low results. But right now, I don't know where we go with coastal erosion or protection around this council table or even in the whole county. You know, what is the right thing to do? The province has dropped it. Do we take it or do we let it go too? You know, that's an unknown, I think, till we see where the citizens are. We want to try and represent the people of the county. I don't know how else you find out other than getting somebody to do it, and if we can do it without any risk on, I don't think we're just using it for the sake because it's there. I think otherwise we go nowhere because we don't know the answer to that question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Councilor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess what worries me on this coastal planning or strategy is when we go out and engage the public, so they're going to expect too much of us, and we're not going to be able to, at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to afford to do it. And I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot. There will be a lot, and as the warden said, it'd be great to engage the whole people in the county, but we're going to hear it from the coastal properties really hard and heavy, and I don't know at the end of the day if there's anything we can do for them. Thank you.
Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the way I look at it is that we continue doing nothing, nothing's going to get done. And I think we have to find out how the residents feel, and we don't know, we don't have a handle on that right now. So I think it's important to get the information, and then we'll know if we move forward or that they want us to let it go. But I think it's really important to take that step to get the consultation done, and then we'll know either way what we might be expected to do.
Okay, Councillor McDonald.
The cost of the land use bylaw and the other consultations, how much did they cost us? And will this one end up costing us more than this 20,000?
So the land use planning was a 2-year process. So that one was about 130,000. So that put that in, I guess, perspective. This one, will the 20,000 cover it? It might, it may not. I just had the agricultural one close on Friday, and the low bid there was 49,000 for basically 6 months, 6-7 month period of worth of work. So could this one come in at 40? It's potential that it could, but then that'll come back here, and whether you go ahead or not, kind of thing. So there's $20,000 on the table. I mean, it could work out that it's 50-cent dollars, could work out that it's 100% dollars, but just putting it probably in perspective, I wouldn't say it's necessarily as intense as the agricultural one, but it has, I guess, that potential to be there.
If I just, the other thing worth noting is that the other project that we mentioned under that provincial funding is really mostly tied to, items related to coastal protection and policy and these types of things too. So if we get that money, it could help supplement what we're talking about doing here as well. So again, we don't know whether we have that money or not yet. Hopefully we'll find out next week when Kyle's back. But if we do get it, it could supplement that as well. So just wanted to put that out there because they are in the same vein and they're both related to coastal protection and policy engagement.
Okay, we have a motion. I'm just going to speak on this. Councillor Boyle's left, and he's my second in command here. So the only thing is, I was wondering, it was about the cost, if that would cover the cost or not. And I realize it's got to go tender and things like that. So it comes back here for us for approval. However, just wondering, I've seen surveys before. The only people that you get to those surveys are the people that are concerned. And the other thing is, you get people that don't even live in the coastal areas that come to these meetings and voice their concerns. And I just don't think you get the really true picture. Some nights we have this gallery filled with people about an issue, and we go, oh, but that's a small representation of what the county is, right? So doing a survey, I don't know. I just think that it's, I have no problem doing it, but I just don't think you get really the true picture of what people really think until we start implementing that, and then they start coming aboard the councillor of the area. So, and the other thing is, if I have a property on the coastline now, am I grandfathered in, same as the land use bylaw? Like, is it? You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me that I have to be so far from the thing, so it's grandfathered in, but if I want to go rock line my shore, am I grandfathered in for that? Do you know?
I don't think we're there yet. Like, we do not know what our citizens even are thinking on coastal protection. So I think what we're saying here is you go out, you engage your community, you determine what level of interest is there, if any, and then your second phase of your project is how do you implement it, right? If there is a willingness, or you as a body feel that it is something you should regulate, then you develop those policies and procedures around that, right? But and typically, you don't have any regulation today. So when you adopt the bylaw, anything that exists today in terms of structures around coastal protection would be grandfathered in. Could they armor rock their shore? That would all depend on what you put in as rules, right? And I think if you came out and said there's a prohibition on armor rocking, there's a prohibition on armor rocking. Because they existed or owned land before, doesn't mean that they can do it, right? So, so you'll get into those land use tools as your second phase, but I think your first phase is you have to determine whether or not you're even interested in doing it, and are your citizens engaged on the topic. And that's all this, I think, is doing at this point, is just saying, let's hire a consultant, determine that phase, then you can have the debate on whether or not we move to the next level.
And there is, and I'll just finish up here, and there is people out there that think the municipality will protect the shoreline for them, and that's not the reality. We cannot afford to help people with the coastal erosion, things like that, so all we can do is provide them guidelines. So anyway, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I guess there's a couple false narratives rolling around here. There are rules now about what you can do on your shoreline. You just can't go and, it's not the Wild West out there. You have to get permits to do things on the shoreline to protect your shore. The provincial government through the Department of Environment, Fisheries and Oceans federally, they all have a say in that stuff. We've created, we think we've solved the problem by creating more laws, but we've confused the issue. And the whole notion that somebody in Blue Mountain, Sunny Brae, West River, somewhere that doesn't even have any tide water, has a say on somebody's private land along the coastline is baffling to me, just the same way as somebody saying that we're going to tell a farmer he can't subdivide his land and give his 5 kids a lot of land because it's agricultural land. Like there'll be people down here protesting that too. So there are rules already. They've tried to create a whole bunch of new rules that weren't really going to impact anything. And again, it's a private property issue. It's a private property issue, and people have to protect their properties, and they will do whatever they can to do it. And I just don't see how this is gonna solve anything along the coastline. I mean, if somebody needs to, if they're going to lose their house because the shores eroding, you think they're going to just watch the next storm come in? No, they're going to act. They're going to act. They're going to protect their property. They're going to armor rock it, or they're going to do whatever they have to. But there's rules and regulations and through the provincial and federal governments that look after these things. So I just think we're it's an overreach is what it is.
Okay, Councillor Turner.
Thanks. The question to me is whether we just do it or don't, right? It's just a community engagement. We're not going down the road of, putting a plan in place. We may decide not to do it. This is simply a question is whether we take the money and do a community engagement or we don't take the money. If we do take the money, we'll listen to our citizens and, people from Trafalgar have as much right to say what they think about the coast as somebody in River John or Caribou. They have a right to say that. You can't take that right away from them just because, if they have a different opinion than somebody else. I just don't think that's a fair argument. If we don't do it and we decide to, implement something on coastal protection and we don't do this survey, people have a legitimate argument come back and say, why didn't you come ask me? Why didn't you come? You had $20,000 was going to be provided to you. You put this act or this bylaw in place, but you didn't come ask me. That's the argument they're going to come back with. So for me, to take the $20,000 and go out and ask the question, what do you think of the county taking on coastal protection? It's $20,000 well spent. So, to listen to people, to listen to citizens, there's no harm in that, regardless of, or we won't be raising expectations. We'll be just listening and making our decisions from that. So that's my perspective on it. Just take the $20,000 and go listen. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor McKeel.
Thank you very much. I would ask the question around the table, how many councillors receive phone calls on coastal protection? How many in your area feel that this is a huge issue? We had an election a year ago, right? That is our survey. That's our time when residents approach us with questions and matters of importance to them. And I'm sure we've heard many things in our area that was important to us, important to our residents. And if coastal protection was one of your big hot button issues, I'd be surprised. I'm not saying that it's not important to some residents. It absolutely is. But they're playing this hot potato game. And the province was all set to go and didn't want it. And now it's being passed to us hot potatoes. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, we all want to help and do things, but what is our role in this? And that's where I get my confusion from, is that, yes, we'll be able to have a bylaw, but what are we actually able to help the homeowner when their wall's collapsing? Is this going to go back to that switch pace program we heard tonight? Is that going to be part of it? Is that where that's going to tie in? I'm not quite sure spending, probably more than $20,000. I don't know anything that costs $20,000. A survey, consultation, is money well spent for our taxpayers. I mean, if this is, I'm not sure if we haven't had our public gauged properly in the past year, but I think we can all genuinely say where our residents feel about this. I'm sure if you've had a ton of phone calls and it's a huge issue in your area, but I'd be interested to see that. I don't know. I don't think a survey is the way to go. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to apply for the $20,000 so that we can do a survey of our residents in all of Pictou County to see what they think about if we should proceed with coastal protection, so a bylaw. So I'll call for the vote. What's that? Do you want to vote with that, Mr. Brown? We're going to. Yes, we're going to. Oh, before we vote, Deputy Warden.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if it comes back that it's, we will see it before we say we're gonna do it. If it goes back at 40,000
Yeah.
or above 20, anything above 20,
We get to.
we got to see it and say yes or no?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's-
thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Bailey, did you?
Yeah, thank you. Just a question. So is it just going to be a survey online, or are we going to do a public
It's going to be
consultation?
public consultations.
Public, so we'll be going out to community halls and.
Yeah. Okay, we can start voting, boys and girls. Oh, just that, oh. Just hang on a second. You can start voting. Okay, motion's carried, so 6-5. And it's a survey and it comes back here, or it's applying for the money, then we put it out for an RFP, it'll come back here, and if it's a lot more than this council's willing to spend, then we'll vote on it again. That's right. Okay, next is the sewer charges bylaw. Logan, would you want to lead us through that? It's in our package and, oh, it's Brian. Okay, so it's Brian's gonna lead us through it, and changes are in the red.
Correct. So those changes are the changes that came from the committee last month, the recommendations on the capital charges. So that's all this is reflecting those.
Okay, any questions? See none, we need a motion though.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McKeel. Second by Deputy Warden Murray. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay. Motion carried. I was waiting for a little discussion on it, but I guess not. Okay, so next is the January council meeting. It's usually the first Monday in January, which is January 5th, but the administration building here is closed, so we won't be able to get our package till January the 2nd. Does the council want to have the meeting on January 5th or move it to January 12th? So, what's your wishes? Councillor McKeel?
Just a second.
There we go. I think that we should move it to the 12th, and I'll make that a motion, only because we want our best possible information, and we want to have a good package and have a good meeting, and I think that takes preparation, and there's a lot that happens, so we can meet here tonight. It's not just that we show up and, you know, I think there's a lot of preparation, so I would make a motion that we go with the 12th.
Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay. Motion carried. Okay, is there any deferred business? Not seeing any. Motions of reconsideration? Not seeing any. Community announcements. We gotta have community announcements. Councillor Thompson.
Pretty exciting day out in Sunny Bray today. They started putting the metal roof on the community center in Sunny Bray. Following that, there'll be it's one of the last solar panel installations in the Net Zero project. And a number of community just creates that sustainable community center. So, and it's endemic of Bridgeville Community Club. They have a number of events that are happening in the community. One of them is coming up. There's on December the 6th from 3 to 5. They're having a kids' Christmas party, and it's presented by the Bridgeville Community Club along with the Bridgeville United Church. And there'll be cookie decorating, Christmas crafts, and festive and all that good stuff. And another event they're having, they host, they're hosting chair yoga out there on, I think it's Wednesday mornings, but they have evening yoga out in, and there's still a few spots open if the people want to join on Wednesday nights at 6:30. It's pretty, Bella Cameron is the one that's leading that event. Tomorrow morning in Churchville at the Churchville Hall, they're having a coffee social. Starts at 8 a.m. so Chester can drop the kids off, and then it's over at 10 a.m. But he can come out for a cup of tea or coffee and have a little bit of a bite to eat, and $5 and takeout is available, so you can take it back to work with you.
Hard to hide the bus, but.
You can park it on the loop there. So on December the 4th at the Plymouth Fire Hall, they're having a Christmas market, and they got a long list of vendors. It's in partnership with the East River Valley Community Development Association, and it's always been they've held it for the last couple of years, and it's been a good turnout for people. So lots going on in District 11.
Okay. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Just that there's seniors outreach in American Community Center every Monday. I attended it a week or two ago, and it was very informative and everything. It was just for fire safety, but of course, the municipal council topic came up too. But there must have been 30 or 40 seniors there, and it was a great thing. Thanks, American Community Center, for doing it. Cozy Christmas Bazaar at the Lismore Community Center on, the last of the month. We'll put that way. 11 to 2 on a Saturday. Thank you.
Okay. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last Saturday, Friday night and Saturday, the Durham Men's Club, with the help of a lot of residents of the community, made apple pies till there's apple pies coming out of our ears. So we made 498 apple pies, uncooked, and we had 35 people there at some point on Saturday, and it went very smooth. The operation was very smooth, and then customers came and picked up their pies, so that was good. And so what I want to say here is that I have pies with me tonight for the counselors that ordered them. So just give me a little time down in the entranceway, and we'll get everybody fixed up with their pies.
Okay. Couldn't do 500, could you? 498.
There wasn't any apples left in the barrel.
There must be some apples in the trees out there. God. Anyway, Councillor Parker. Very good, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention again the 39th Annual Christmas Craft Shop taking place at the Millbrook Community Club this weekend, Friday and Saturday. It's a great spot to pick up any Christmas gifts, and we'd like to see you all come out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that was the last one. I have one. Just want to say that District 13 Recreation Planning Commission is having their 3rd annual Christmas event Saturday, November the 29th at the Ivor McDonald Moore Arena. Going to have skating from 3 to 5 and vendors upstairs from 3 to 6, along with a little cafe, fire pits outside, and some music. So if anybody's around, drop in, bring your skates. Just don't fall and hurt yourself. Yeah, we can't afford the insurance. We have no insurance. Anyway, I'll move the meeting to adjournment. He wasn't feeling good.